Hi, I'm Greg Gutfeld, now with Retson. Here's what's coming up. 1 minute, Pope Francis warns of the dangers of politicizing everything. The next, John Boehner resigns. Coincidence or divine intervention? Then, what if the next Dalai Lama is a woman? The current Lama says she better have a pretty face, and he doesn't mean persona. And it's been 5 days. What's happened to the charmed life of New York's pizza rat? An exclusive report this hour. Let's get this show started. I got to be somewhere in an hour.
Where is the level of professionalism that you expect?
I just think it's something to fill up a 24-hour news cycle.
At some point, you have to have a plan.
I don't think he really knows what to do. And I think he's surprised about that.
You know, after you drink a lot, you swear you're never going to drink again. It's the same thing with debates. And this last week has been one long debate hangover. So fraught with nausea, we rehydrate, gorge on comfort foods, and we say to ourselves, never again. So why not now take stock? Where are we in this mess? Who's left? Who shouldn't be here? To quote a bartender, you don't have to go home, guys, but you can't stay here. But as we swear off the sauce forever, remember, suddenly the hangover always fades, and then you're ready to get back on that horse and look at the menu. First, Dr. Ben gets bombed on Islam. Iran.
So do you believe that Islam is consistent with the Constitution?
No, I don't. I do not. I would not advocate that we put a Muslim in charge of this nation. I absolutely would not agree with that.
Well, that's the opposite of ambiguous. But as Carson stands firm, Walker walks off.
I will suspend my campaign immediately. I encourage other Republican presidential candidates to consider doing the same.
Amazing applause. Anyway, then the weeping sherbet follows.
Just a few minutes ago, Speaker Boehner announced that he will be resigning.
That is just mean. Truly, he was the bane-er of their existence. And then another lump comes from Trump.
I mean, you know, like you have this clown, Marco Rubio. I've been so nice to him. I've been so nice. I've been so nice.
He really has. That didn't end well. And then Cruz lights a fuse.
And if you vote for me, under no circumstance will a nation led by a theocratic Ayatollah who chants death to America, under no circumstances will Iran be allowed to acquire nuclear weapons. And if the Ayatollah doesn't understand that, we may have to help introduce him to his 72 virgins.
What does he mean by that? Over the top? Maybe. Speaking the language that Iran's extremists might understand? Perhaps. But at least something positive came along.
Buenos días a todos.
Hello, everyone.
If only he could run for president. But he wasn't born here. Not like that matters, am I right? But even with the Pope, things got polarizing. His stance on climate change is portrayed as moral by those who politicize it every day. And the coverage was nonstop, like we were tracking a package and not a pope. But it was a nice break from the nonstop fighting among Republicans. Imagine a bathroom wall where the graffiti keeps changing. That's the 2016 race, thanks to Twitter. And that's good and bad. It's bad in that the petty fighting is turning friends into enemies, just like Demi Lovato and Selena Gomez. Or for you boomers, Jerry Lewis and Dean Martin. We attack ourselves and not our adversaries. But it's also a good thing. Now everyone can fight and fight back. But for now, let's pace ourselves. Binging early is always bad. It's like getting trashed at the tailgate and then sleeping through the game. Except here you might wake up to President Sanders or Clinton. Now that's a hangover. Period. Well, we'll get to my guests here in the studio in a moment, and they are great guests. But first, I want to go to our D.C. bureau. We have them there. And get the thoughts from Jonah Goldberg, National Review senior editor and Fox News contributor. Jonah, first off, summer's over, the fall's begun. It's time to take stock. What is your take? What's your inventory so far?
On the presidential election or just on my daily drinking? I mean,
both, actually.
The two are actually very closely related. Look, I think that the reason why Scott Walker dropped out was by his own hand. I don't think all these guys need to be dropping out only after the second debate. The problem for Walker was that he had staffed up like a front runner and then had a burn rate of something like $1 million or $2 million a week, and he couldn't sustain it. You know, a lot of these guys like Rubio and Jindal, they're living off of the land. They're being smart about their money, and they can hang around for a while. And what a lot of them are waiting to do is wait to see if Jeb Bush drops out. And then all of a sudden one of them can sort of spring ahead, sort of like in NASCAR when you coast behind the guy in front and you wait for your moment to spring in front.
I don't follow that sport, Jonah. I don't even know what you're talking about.
You must have seen Days of Thunder, though, or that Will Ferrell movie. So
yes,
that's where I get all my NASCAR references from anyway.
Well, that's good. I want to ask you about John Boehner and the applause when they found out he resigned. Is that celebration a bit premature?
Well, look, I mean, it depends who replaces him. I mean, it's entirely possible that, if you hate, and a lot of people do, if you hate Republican leadership, if you think they're all evil, horrible, no good nicks, and all the rest, then Boehner leaving only to have the existing leadership team promoted one step up means that all the things you hate about leadership were just rewarded, right? I mean, I like Kevin McCarthy. I think he's a decent and honorable guy. I don't know that we couldn't do better, but we could also do a hell of a lot worse. But the people who hate the establishment and shout rhino all day long about how evil it is, what they may have just done is cleared a path for Kevin McCarthy to take over, and Kevin McCarthy is not as conservative as Boehner was.
No, he's actually more to the left of Boehner. What about this fracturing that you're talking about? Is this a permanent thing among the Republican Party?
I hope it's not permanent. If it is, my only advice is buy gold. But I do think what we're actually seeing is it's two things. One, it's a delayed Bush backlash. Bush did all sorts of structural damage to the psychology of the Republican Party and the conservative movement. And then the guy who's really messed things up is Barack Obama, who's essentially spent his entire presidency like a comment section troll, just driving the Republicans batty. And Republicans don't know how to respond to him because he hasn't played by the rules. And he's gone around the Constitution, he's gone around Congress, and in response, Republicans are starting to say, well, we got to do that too and fight fire with fire.
You're absolutely
and it's an understandable response, but it's a mess.
Yeah, that's true. I think that's the lesson we're learning is that now we fight dirty. All right, Jonah, I'm going to leave you there. Go resume your heavy drinking somewhere and have one or two on me. All right. Let's welcome tonight's guests. Every time this man opens his mouth, an angel gets head lice. It's Gavin McInnes, writer for TalkingMac.com and StreetCarnage.com. Well, she's so adorable, she belches rainbows. It's Carrie, Keagan, actress, comedian, lead anchor for No Good TV. And he puts the lib in glib. It's John DeVore, Internet Action Force Editor-in-Chief. I don't know what that is. And part of her probation is that she sit here and not stab anyone. Joanne Nosuchinsky. And she's got more brains than a zombie's freezer. It's our op-ed, Katherine Timpf from National Review. And finally, made of wood, up to no good, the liberal panel.
Hello.
Boo! Shut up, liberal panel. I didn't even ask you a question yet. All right, you know what I want to go to first, Carrie? I want to go to you.
Why?
You know why? Because you're the most normal person here, meaning probably...
That's not saying anything.
I know.
So nice. Thank you for not saying me.
Well, no, because she's probably the least political. You live in L.A., you do TV shows.
So instantly I know nothing.
Exactly. My point. No.
You're fired.
Yes. Have you been paying attention? And what's your assessment so far?
I don't know. What exactly are you referring to, you ass?
Where do you see this going?
The
race.
I mean, racism is bad, so we probably shouldn't do that first and foremost. I mean, I think it's hysterical that most of the people that are getting the attention right now are people that are just sort of celebrities and not really politicians. I think that's fascinating to me, and it also sort of tells you where we are in the world right now, that celebrity is more fun to watch.
You know what? You just kind of underlined something that I've been thinking, that because Donald Trump is... upstream from politics and culture, he is providing a way into politics that we've not seen among the Republican Party. All right, Gavin, I'm going to go to you because you are a big cruise lover. Yeah. You love to cruise.
I love cruising.
Yes.
Just doing that
like
last night in
cruising
West
bars
Village.
and stuff? Or like
Cruising
what are we
everything.
talking about cruising?
Every possible facet, every synonym.
What do you make of this kind of threat to Iran? I have a theory on it, but I want to hear yours.
I think Cruz recognizes that the majority of the American public is really disturbed by that deal, and he says, I'm on the same page as you.
See, my theory is that we have been spent so much time watching other countries burn flags and scream in the streets that maybe it's time that we have our own kind of like craziness. That could be it. Or he was just trying to get headlines.
I think he's right. It's time to cut the cord. This relationship is not working out.
Oh, right. Well,
you're dumped.
Those are two metaphors that didn't quite go together. But anyway, I'll let that pass. John, this is
wrong.
Am I wrong?
Yes.
Okay.
What's the question?
Well, you must be jealous that we have so many qualified candidates, and you can't even cobble up one.
I love watching the Republican Party have a panic attack. It's the best, and it's really crazy because I find myself as a liberal heartthrob defending people like Scott Walker, who, like, on paper, he's a great candidate. He was an executive of a blue state. He has solid anti-union cred, and he'd be the kind of candidate who could, get a national consensus. I think you could draw some the conservative Democrats. But he's gone now. You guys are screwed.
I just love the fact that, when it comes to the left, dissent is patriotic, but when it's to the right, it's a panic attack.
Fine. Then you guys are having a spirited dialogue amongst yourselves.
Thank you. Joanne, you are obviously a veteran of pageants. Should the campaign season be more like a pageant? And get rather than this crazy, chaotic 18-month hell?
Well, yeah. I mean, the good thing about pageants is we do fling a lot of, nasty comments to each other, but we do it in the nice way. You know, our insults are disguised as pleasantries, which I think the candidates need to work on a little bit. But what I think is really going to unify the Republican Party it's the Democrats. Because we have their first debate coming up, there hasn't been one yet, so there hasn't been enough material for everyone to kind of gather together and say, America, don't look at that. We need to unify and promote our party.
That's a good point. Katherine, what are your thoughts on the state of politics?
I'm just trying to LOL so I don't CRY. Like with most things. No, it's really funny. It's great for tweets. It's great for making jokes. It's great that people are paying attention to politics for once, but what they're paying attention to is kind of a mess. Everyone's kind of going a little bit nuts. I don't know what we're really solving or if we're going to be able to solve anything.
That's kind of a downer. Speaking of the liberal panel,
that's me.
There haven't been any Democratic debates. Do you really need them, given the fact that you're just going to do whatever Debbie Wasserman Schultz tells you to do?
I don't really think it works that way.
Really?
At least we'll have people talking about issues at a debate rather than what we saw before.
What do you mean?
You've got people actually talking about what's going on in the world. People who have policy ideas rather than just celebrities debating each other who have no understanding of the Constitution, no understanding of how the country works, never been elected to anything.
What are you talking about? Never been elected to anything. What are you talking about? Christie,
Donald Trump? Ben Carson?
Ben Carson actually is a neurosurgeon.
Yeah,
that's actually more valuable than a politician. I can't believe I'm talking to you.
He can separate co-joined twins. That's a great resume piece for a White House run.
Well, wait a minute. I guess being a community organizer makes you even more qualified.
Jesus was a community organizer.
Oh, don't bring him into this just to save your paltry arguments.
Isn't that what you people do?
Everything you said.
How many times do you say God in a political speech?
All right, I want to move on, but I have a theory on Scott Walker. Scott Walker, okay, when you're at a bar, this is to men, so this is a sexist argument, and you want to talk to a woman at a bar, and you're about to, but then some other guy comes, and he's like a big jock with a Rolex. Scott Walker just decided, I'm leaving the bar. and the guy that approached the bar was Donald Trump, and he's like, you know what? This isn't supposed to be that difficult. I think I'm just going to take off.
Well, you know why that's a great analogy? Because that guy would have to spend tons of money on drinks to compete, and Walker quit because he's cheap.
Nah.
He didn't have a Karl Rove. He didn't spend money on consultants, and he thought, I can handle this. And he goes, this is getting too expensive, which is ironic because a fiscal conservative is what we need.
All right.
And he dropped out because he didn't want to spend the money.
Well, there you go. That's a sad state of affairs. Time to take a break. Still to come, a theory about the Pope, old people, and kittens. The waiting. You and I will be old one day. I'm pretty sure I'm right about this. And we're not going to like the way we're being treated because no one respects the wrinkled. We're a culture that caters to its youth and forgets its elders. We used to say that with age comes wisdom. Now it's reversed. We think young people hold the truth and old people need the education. And get this, the Pope, he agrees with me. During his visit, Pope Francis said seniors are part of a throwaway culture. In his speech before Congress, the Pope called the elderly, quote, a storehouse of wisdom who could teach the rest of us something valuable. After all, who revolutionized childbirth so your mother didn't die during it? Some old person. Who created highways and bridges that get you to and from rehab? An old person. Who fought the war so you could sit in footsie pajamas binge-watching Scandal? An old person. Who cured polio, stopped measles, and invented alcohol? You could thank old and likely dead people. Here's the point. We discriminate against age, but age doesn't discriminate. Black, white, man, woman, gay, straight, Christian, Muslim, we're all going to be the olds one day. So start showing some respect, you stupid kids, and get off my lawn. Carrie, you're the normal person here.
Oh, great.
Wasn't it refreshing? No one ever makes this argument. Nobody defends old people anymore. We all treat them like they're bigots.
Everybody that you mentioned probably did all those things when they were in their 30s.
Not all of them. That's probably true. But now but see, the thing is, we forget that they did something. Fought wars or cured things when they're 30s, and now that they're old, we just see them as old. Why?
Because what have they done for me lately?
That is so true.
Yeah.
That is so true.
It's really very sad.
Yeah, it's sad because, you know, when I was a child, John, we used to walk around and I thought that old people were always old. Like they didn't have, they were like, your grandmother was always a grandmother. Right. And that's how we kind of think now. Am I right, you left-wing pinko?
I hate to espouse Marxist doctrine, but in a capitalistic society, unproductive people are useless. So the elderly should just be sold for dog food.
Wow.
Right?
Well, you know,
they vote.
That's true. That's true.
Dog food.
You're a terrible person.
Yes, but in a conservative culture, there is importance put on the family. And the old people stay with the young people. And if you look at centenarians, they are almost exclusively healthier when they're around kids. They don't go senile. They don't get Alzheimer's because they get this stimuli from being around little kids. And you guys fractured the family, put old people in old folks' homes, and literally made them go crazy.
Yes, that is. I agree with everything Gavin said.
Go senile.
Like children are like crossword puzzles for the elderly.
Totally.
Joanne, oddly enough, it's your birthday today.
It is.
Well, actually, it was yesterday.
Yeah.
Yes. You're a day older than you were yesterday.
Oh.
Does it bother you that you will age and soon will be treated with less respect than you are now as a beautiful young woman?
Yeah, I plan on staying, once I reach 29, I plan on staying there.
Yes.
For forever. But you know what? I totally agree with Gavin. It's the idea of family values, of the structure of the family that's totally disintegrated, which the only good thing about that is I don't know that we'll ever really have another plague because family members don't like to care for ill family members anymore. We ship them off to hospice, to hospitals, because we don't want to touch anyone. We don't want to care for anyone. So in that sense, it will help humanity go on.
But you know what's happening with boomers? They are getting older now, and their hatred of the old is turning on themselves. And they are saying, don't call me grandma, call me Zubby. And I'm not coming by to be around the kids. Like, they are putting themselves in homes.
They invented the whole, like, youth culture, the whole obsession, the whole idea that teens are magical creatures.
Yeah, and they're not.
But they were the beta test for that, and now it's turning on them. Now they resent the fact that now
I don't think you'll be able to get your mom to stay with you when she's 90, because she's like, I'm gross, I'm old, look away.
You know what it is? It's also like you've seen two celebrities in the last couple of weeks, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and Sarah Silverman, both said the same thing about the PC movement, that the PC movement exists for young people to educate old people on their racism and their bigotry. For example, if the intolerance towards humor on campus is basically saying your jokes aren't funny because you're old and racist, and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar said the PC movement is beneficial for the same reasons, which I find interesting. But it was also the only thing the Pope said that you couldn't politicize. And that's why I don't think anybody talked about it. Speaking of, America seems to see everything through a political lens. Did you notice I transitioned like that?
Nice. Beautiful.
Yeah. The Pope's remarks this week were co-opted by one party or the other. Defending human life, a Republican position. Climate change, that's one for the Dems. This is happening all the time. I want to go to you, Kat. The Pope. What makes the Pope so special to you?
He's very qualified. He's been a priest. He's been a bishop. He was also a bouncer at a nightclub in Buenos Aires when he was in college.
Oh. That's actually an unspoken rule in many jobs is if you want to hire somebody good, you hire them from the restaurant industry.
Specifically a bouncer. I feel like if you can guide these drunk girls with no shoes crying, "Where's my friend?" you can guide us all.
That is so true. That is true. He probably had a good heart when he was doing that. Liberal panel, I bet you ignored this part of the Pope's speech I referred to because you couldn't turn it into some ideological potshot.
Oh, you mean like the Republicans have done with the Pope visiting, thinking he was somehow speaking from the left when it's clear he was speaking from the Bible?
Really?
That's exactly what was happening.
Was climate change in the Bible? Was climate change in the Bible?
Well, it doesn't talk about abortion, doesn't talk about gay rights. The Bible talks about the climate, the poor, the homeless, the needy, and that's the message from the Pope.
Mm-hmm. The climate?
The environment.
Come on.
Okay.
Stewards of the earth.
Oh, my God. Oh, I didn't mean to say that. Yeah, it was weird. You know what happened? He would say, the Pope would say something moral, and then it was like, you know what it was? It was like a hotel flashlight that you can tell what your ideology is. When the Pope would say something, you'd find out who the liberal was, and you'd find out who the Republican was by how they would react to what the Pope said.
As you said that, I was picturing a black light, and I got a whole different vision altogether.
Yeah, you know what? Sometimes my metaphors don't work at all, and they should probably be shelved. All right, there's so much to love about New York City. It's fine cuisine, its efficient subway system, and its wildlife. Finally, a video that encapsulates all of these qualities. One of an inner-city rodent struggling with a slice of pizza. And like my mono in 7th grade, it went viral. Yes. Do you have any idea what fame has done to this rat? Behold our latest installment of Where Are They Now?
So if you haven't heard the phrase, "the struggle is real," well, take a look at this. A rat carrying an entire slice of pizza down the stairs to the subway in New York City. His determination lauded worldwide with the hashtag #PizzaRat, and it was trending all over the internet, and now you can see why.
That was on Tuesday. Within minutes, the internet had several theories about the incredible video. Was it viral marketing by Chuck E. Cheese restaurants? Was this rat Splinter, bringing food home to the Ninja Turtles? Had Mayor Bill de Blasio failed New York once again? Whatever the true nature, it didn't matter for its star, Mike Van Michaels. After the Twitterverse nicknamed him Pizza Rat, he couldn't go out in public without someone buying him a slice. He quickly ballooned to over 1,200 pounds. Later, he appeared on NBC's The Biggest Loser and won the grand prize. Sadly, it was taken away after he confessed to cheating. He had had his stomach stapled. Meanwhile, Pixar has already begun working on a feature film about Van Michaels' life. The famous rodent will be voiced by John Ratzenberger, who seems thrilled about the project.
It's a real treat for me. It really is.
This has been a Where Are They Now?
It's definitely a touching moment. All right, still to come. Kids who make clocks that look like bombs. And llamas who love the ladies. If you leave now, I won't pick up your dry cleaning like I promised. Well, I heard about Ahmed and his clock, which means it's time for the media to... 14-year-old Ahmed Mohammed was let out of his school in handcuffs when he brought this to his school. He said it was a clock. They thought it might be a bomb. I can't imagine why. I mean, that is clearly a clock. The story took off in the media, and Ahmed had the starring role.
Now we're going to talk with Ahmed Mohammed.
Before we start, I just have a quick note to your teachers if they're watching. Please don't be alarmed. This isn't a wall of explosives behind us.
This isn't my first invention, and it won't be my last invention.
Something tells me we have not heard the last from Ahmed Mohammed.
Not to mention, Mark Zuckerberg offered him to visit Facebook, whatever that is. Microsoft sent him a bunch of free stuff, and also an offer from the president himself to visit the White House. So naturally, there must be no gray area in this story. Mark Cuban also spoke with Ahmed and had this to say on Real Time with Bill Maher.
I've talked to the kid. Go ahead. Right, he's from Dallas, and I've talked to the people in the school district. The kid is a super smart kid, science geek. We talked about science, But while I'm talking to him on the phone, as I asked him a question, tell me what happened, because I'm curious, right? His sister, over his shoulder, you could hear, listening to the question, giving him the answer.
And Ahmed's sister told the Daily Beast, quote, I got suspended from school for 3 days from this stupid same district from this girl saying I wanted to blow up the school, something I had nothing to do with. Did you also know that his dad ran for president of Sudan twice? That's fun. Anyway, this week, Ahmed's family removed him and his 2 siblings out of the Irving, Texas school district because, quote, of religious persecution, and have decided to homeschool them, which I happen to endorse completely. Carrie! What do you make of this story? Is this totally by the book, this actually happened, or is your BS detector going wacky?
I mean, as soon as I saw this and I saw everybody's reaction, it was like, this is a Borat. In real life, it's happening.
Yes.
I mean, the sad thing is that so many people got so involved emotionally with this kid, like, oh, poor Ahmed, oh, this is tragic what's happening to him. And we all just got punked.
So you believe it's a hoax?
Yes, 100%. I believe he's totally full of crap.
Wow.
And you can see it in how smug he is when he talks about what happened.
Wow. Interesting. John, you disagree with Carrie?
Oh, completely. I disagree with everyone here in this building about, Texans are they're spoiling for a fight, and they're seeing what they want to see in this kid. Now, let's just say, though, for the sake of argument, that this kid is a sleeper terrorist. Let's just say he is.
He's not.
Let's just say he is.
No one's saying that.
Let's say he is. He presented the bomb in the worst possible way possible.
No, but
you don't present the bomb. That's exactly what that is. Exactly.
No. What we're saying is, it would cause hysteria. He knew, and he kept pushing until it got hysteria. And by the way, if a teacher sees something like that, yes.
If the teacher sees something like that, the teacher then calls a bomb drill, gets all the kids out of the school, and goes through protocol.
That's it. You cannot shame the people who want to take those steps.
Yeah. But see, what you're saying is, that we think he brought a bomb. What everybody else is saying is that he might have created a situation to create press. By the way, a friend of mine agrees with this completely, and he compares it to the Rosa Parks bus incident, which was also planned, saying that this was to create a movement, and it was a good idea because it exposes Islamophobia. That's what a friend.
But the dangerous
if we did allow blacks to sit anywhere they want on the bus, like that's the problem with that analogy.
Yeah.
We don't have this oppressive Islamophobic culture. In fact, we have Islamophobia is the big problem here, and so they took advantage of that. I mean, you didn't mention that the dad claims to be this religious sheikh who has no followers. His mosque doesn't know who he is. He ran down when Pastor Terry Jones was going to burn the Quran. He said, I'll rep it as a lawyer. Look at me, beep, beep, beep. And then the Quran burned. Yes. He has been an attention hog for a long time. This is one of a long line of publicity stunts. And everyone fell for it, even the president.
I think that it's because it matched the assumptions that people had about America. I think that's what happens. The other thing, too, Joanne, Ahmed to me is like a status symbol for celebrities. Like it's like an Oscar gift bag.
Yeah.
Like every celebrity that gets near him gets their picture taken.
That's part of the most dangerous thing about this whole situation is the fact that he's getting all of this media attention. He is getting gifts. He is getting flown out to places, getting all of this exposure. So other kids in schools are going to pull off hoaxes like this in the hopes that they will be rewarded. You cannot reward things like this. Just because we have guilt for maybe how he was treated, maybe it went a little too far with the police, handcuffing him or whatever, you cannot have the guilt over that and have this then be the response, all that reward.
It's going to make a great Oliver Stone movie one day, this conspiracy.
No, this is going to be a drunk history episode. You know it.
Oh, Lord.
But no, I will say, we are operating on an opinion that is also shared by Bill Maher, but nobody goes after Bill Maher about this because he's got the right bona fides. Katherine, is there any evidence to suggest the kid seems like a nice kid, seems like a good kid, was actually looking for a little bit of hoopla, a little PR?
Well, according to the Dallas Morning News, he showed the clock to his engineering teacher at the beginning of the day. Engineering teacher said, cool, but maybe don't take that out anymore. Looks like a bomb, probably. But then he went off and he took it out and showed his English teacher. So he clearly wanted, he wanted to start some trouble.
Plugged it in English class and set the alarm.
Really?
Yes. But what I don't get about this is, why do some hoaxes blow up, like the UVA hoax, and then other hoaxes like Mattress Girl just get swept under the rug? Because this story's done now.
Yeah, but
Ahmed won.
But the thing is, we still don't know. This has not been finished. This is still, I don't think you can call this a hoax because we don't have verification. We can think that it was.
Well, because it's all about intention. You can never know a person's real intention. You know if they're lying or not.
I want to go bring in the liberal panel. Should Ahmed be the Democratic nominee for president?
You wish. That's the only way I guess Republicans could win. This is insane. Yeah. This is again, he was arrested, a 14-year-old kid arrested because of a ticking clock. Oh, a bomb ticks too. A clock ticks. It must be a bomb. Imagine if he were white or Christian. What would have happened then?
White Christian kids get sent home for Pop-Tarts that look like guns.
It's a crime to take a device to somewhere that might cause hysteria, knowing that it's going to cause hysteria. That's a misdemeanor.
You know you're talking to a piece of wood?
No. You okay there? All right. I happen to believe that I don't know if it's a hoax. I think the media just wants it to be real so much we will never know. That's my
Okay, but it doesn't have to be a hoax or not. Why is everyone so excited about someone who just moved the casings of a clock into a pencil box? Mm-hmm. And why is the president inviting him to the White House? That doesn't have to be a hoax.
Yeah, all right. Last word, John, because you want to explode.
I don't want to explode. You guys are all completely correct. It's more likely it's prejudice than it is a conspiracy theory.
All right. Interesting point. That is probably incorrect. But fair and balanced. That's how we do this show. And drunk. Fair and balanced and drunk. All right, still to come, the Dalai Lama, Anderson Cooper, and Madonna. Not in the same story, although that would be pretty awesome. Beneath all his grace, he digs a pretty face. I speak of the Dalai Lama, who said in an interview this week he'd be open to a female successor, but only if she's attractive. Roll it, Lance.
If female Dalai Lama come, then that female
will be
must be very attractive. Otherwise,
be very
not
attractive.
much use.
It's just gonna really.
No, I think some people, my face.
You're joking, I'm assuming.
Oh,
you're not joking.
Oh,
no.
I mean, true.
He's the greatest. Now, I did some digging, and I think he's wrong. Consider these homely people who have done great things. John Hamm, for example, became Don Draper, and look how ugly he is.
Gross.
George Clooney was Batman, and he's just repulsive. And then, of course, Clint Howard is a living legend. All right, Carrie, you are the homeliest person I've ever seen in my life. Wow. It's got to. Are you upset by the Dalai Lama's lookism?
Yeah, he sounds like Trump. Like, what just happened? It's the Dalai Lama. I mean, he's supposed to be this, like, otherworldly, above everyone, know better than all of us. And he's like, yeah, she got to be hot. No one's going to listen to her. What?
But in a way, John, isn't he just basically exposing the truth of all men, that holy or not holy, we still like...
You know, the Dalai Lama is the head of a patriarchal organization that liberals love. And that's, that's part of the dark side a little bit of Buddhists and Tibetan Buddhists. It is a very patriarchal society.
Wait, but he's okay with having a female successor. That's not the Catholic Church.
I know, but he still wants to be...
He's going to have to train her, you guys.
Well, he'll be
so he's
dead.
going to have to spend a lot of time putting like some work into whoever's going to be coming up next.
I just want to hear what Gavin has to say about this.
Gavin, I think you like this story.
Well, he's right in that it would be better for PR if she was pretty. I mean, this show isn't exactly Dogtown, USA. But
you're so kind.
I don't think he understands how Tibetan Buddhism works. You don't just get to choose some hot mom's kid and say, what about her?
Yeah.
You got to talk to a lake and then follow some smoke and do a bunch of really dumb stuff.
Well, that's your opinion.
No, it's not. That's what they do.
We have to keep in mind, what's attractive to the Dalai Lama might not be what is considered attractive in Western culture.
Oh, well, that's an interesting point as well.
Some people like unibrows.
Look at Miss Universe. Hot is universal.
Okay.
That's why it's the universe.
Kat, thoughts?
Well, I don't know. I feel like people have a hard time listening to me because I am so attractive.
Oh, wow.
That's something that I really struggle with. Nobody realizes how brilliant I am because they're too focused on my amazing looks.
Wow, that's
so Dalai Lama, keep that in mind.
All right. I'm afraid to ask the liberal panel. But let me ask the liberal panel. I can't help but think Alan Combs, if he were here, he would be very upset at this story.
Thank God he's not.
Yes, exactly. All right. You're much better looking than he is, by the way, liberal panel.
Thank you.
Before we go to break, it's time once again for Hard Evidence. That's our 52-part series examining the disturbing story of a man named Trevor and a pursuit that lasted decades. Tonight, the CIA's hired assassin, also known as the Seeker, finally catches up with Trevor, but then things take a turn for the incredible.
July 20th, 1999. The Seeker enlists the help of local authorities to close in on Trevor outside Dallas, Texas. But he refuses to go quietly and nearly breaks his legs.
Trevor really needed to learn a thing or two about how to fall and not get hurt. I could have helped him if he'd only asked.
In pain and desperate to evade capture, Trevor steals an SUV and pushes it to the limit. But then he decides to shake when he should have baked, and disaster strikes. Or did it?
If Trevor were to have lost an eye, a leg, or even an arm, it really wouldn't have been such a big deal, you know? We can all be reconstructed.
Was this the end of the line for Trevor, or just the beginning of something much more incredible? What happened next would change everything forever.
Colt Seavers and Steve Austin look great. Up next, Joanne Nosuchinsky's got a hard-hitting report on the most important stories of the week. This is her last chance to do something right. So what were the biggest stories of the week? Beats me, I don't even watch the news. But our very own Joanne Nosuchinsky does, and she's been begging me for weeks to do her own very short report on them. So take it away.
Joanne Nosuchinsky presents hard-hitting headlines about topics and stories like stuff and other events, supported by facts and sources with information, so that you can impress your friends by knowing things.
Thanks, Greg. Yes, it's time for hard-hitting news. I'm Joanne Nosuchinsky, coming at you from every angle. We begin hard-hitting news with a man who was hit harder than something that gets hit hard, like a boxer or something I don't know. CNN News anchor and Silver Fox Anderson Cooper received an onstage spanking from Madonna at her concert last week. Cooper, who seemed pleased with the public romp, will be moderating the first Democratic debate next month. CNN's Jake Tapper is upset he was not offered the same pre-debate prep. He didn't actually say that, but I would be if I was him. And speaking of hot and overrated, Starbucks has just released a new seasonal drink called the Toasted Graham Latte, not inspired by presidential candidate Lindsey Graham, which is unfortunate because he could use the help, frankly. It's billed as low sugar. It's a low sugar option, coming in at 40 grams of sugar in a 16-ounce serving. I'm not a math whiz, but that's at least double, if not more, than one would ever need. I fear for our future, and you should too. But hopefully you'll make it to your next birthday, because now the happy birthday song is free for all to sing poorly. A judge recently ruled that the copyright is invalid and no one should profit off of the dumbest song ever. And if you disagree with me, consider this. It's 4 lines long and 3 of them are exactly the same line. Chumbawamba had better lyrics. And no one understands profits more than Gisele Bundchen. The supermodel and wife to the most hated man in America is releasing a coffee table book full of autographed modeling shots for $700. No, that must be 70, no? Not a typo. Geez, $700? That book costs more than most coffee tables. Don't buy it. And finally, rapper Chris Brown may be banned from performing in Australia. That's it for hard-hitting news. I'm still Joanne Nosuchinsky. Back to you, Greg.
Thank you. That's an interesting way of ending a segment. I guess I think I see what you did there with the Chris Brown joke, I think.
What did I do?
I don't know. By the way, you know what? Anderson Cooper, nobody even reported on that. If I were up there, it'd be all over the place.
Right? If you were up there, I mean, people, you know, there's a little bias there.
There is a lot. You know, there's a lot of media bias out there, Joanne. Well, thank you so much. That was quite a report.
You're welcome,
Turn
America.
Around now. All right, up next, one more Greg. In just a few weeks. How to Be Right, that's the title of my new book. It's available October 27. You should reserve a copy now because there's a huge mistake in it on page 65, I think. And I'll be out on tour in support of it. It'll be in 20 cities covering 9 states. Here's a look at some of the places I'll be. Or go to my website, ggutfeld.com, for more information. Time for one more Greg. It was a she translating for she, and then she became he. President Obama held a joint news conference with China's President Xi Jinping. When it was Xi's turn to answer questions, his answers were translated by a she.
We have agreed to vigorously push forward the bilateral investment treaty negotiations.
Biological she for President Xi, who's obviously a he. How refreshing. Why shouldn't it be a she who's translating for she, except something happened later in the news conference?
China strongly opposes and combats the theft of commercial secrets and other kinds of hacking attacks.
He started translating for she, and Xi's she translator was gone. She seemed to be doing fine for she. So why did he come in to replace her? Well, it turns out Xi's official translator is a he. So where was he? This absentee, taking a knee, having some tea, perhaps a chablis, binge-watching Glee, chased by a bee? I didn't see. That was a gymboree. Thanks to Gavin, McInnes, Carrie, Keagan, John DeVore, Joanne Nosuchinsky, Catherine, Jonah Goldberg, and Boo, the liberal panel. I'm Greg Gutfeld, and I love you, America.